Hey everyone. I noticed lately there's been some renewed interest on my channel, and the sub count has gone up and the view count has gone up, and I was kind of taking a break from putting content up, as I usually go through waves. There's times when I feel really motivated, and then there's times when I feel like giving up, or who cares, or am I really helping, or thoughts like that. But I noticed over a couple days, things started going up, and it's just sort of made me want to get back to it. So I figured I would maybe start off by explaining how I got into this situation in the first place. Let's just say that I've always been a open-minded person. I've always had a problem trusting people immediately, and that goes into, just believing everything at, the first time you hear it, right? It's usually I have to go and look into things myself before I make my own decision on topics, on anything really. I've never believed in the moon landing. I always thought that it looked stupid. I thought that it looked like they were bouncing around. I just thought it just didn't look real to me, and I didn't know how to put my finger on it until YouTube was a bigger thing, where some videos went up and people were critiquing the moon landing footage, and you can see how things have been sped up, and you can see wires, and there's all the problems with shadows and all that. But I've always been a strong believer in that. I've always openly talked about that. And but at the same time, though, I was always a believer in space, and I thought that the aliens were going to come one day and save us from the evil government and show us all the errors of our ways. And obviously at this point I don't believe any of that anymore, but I've always been a little critical of history. Basically, if you look at history, a lot of it is just a big giant game of telephone where something allegedly happened, or someone saw something and then they told someone, and someone told someone else, and someone wrote it down, and someone else told someone else, and someone read it, and someone made a movie about it, and someone reported about it as news. You see, everything comes, unless you were there physically experiencing it on your own, then it's all hearsay. So that's kind of how I look at most things. That goes into the wars that we've had, that just history, all the politics, just everything. I basically believe that part of our brainwashing and part of the way they control us is by presenting us with this past and then giving us ideas of the future. And you end up thinking about these things that don't exist in the present moment, but then they have an effect on you in the present moment. So, for example, like you could be ashamed of something in the past, or you could be fearful of the future, and those two things don't exist, but in the present moment you're experiencing physical manifestations of those thoughts. Like maybe you're scared, or maybe you're crying, or you're upset, or whatever it is. So you kind of get an idea where I'm coming from there, hopefully. When I was in high school, I took some earth science courses, and we had a temporary teacher for several months, and she was very open about reminding us, when it came into the topic of space, that everything was a theory. Some things were not proven, although they were believed and accepted. There specifically one time being, we watched this video from It's probably from the 70s. I'm sure many people have seen it, where they were trying to explain how gravity works. And what they were doing is they just had a bunch of little round spherical magnets rolling around, and because they're magnets, they were sticking to each other, and they look like little ball bearings, and they were trying to suggest that this was a accurate representation of the way gravity and relativity works. And this teacher, on probably 2 or more occasions, made sure that we knew that that was not real gravity. Just said, just so you know, these are just magnets. This isn't really gravity. It's just a representation. And of course, I didn't think anything of that until much later, more closer to the present day, where, yeah, you know what? That's right. That's not real. It's just a mock-up. It's just a representation, just like most things that we believe are real. They're all theories and representations and somebody's idea, and it just gets spoken of as if it's a foregone conclusion. And do that long enough, and then talk about things in the past tense, and then it's as if it was a real thing, regardless of whether there was proof of it or not. So, that brings me to, let's see, what's the next spot here? Oh, the 9/11 event. At the time, I thought it looked weird. I did think it looked like more of a demolition than a building toppling over. And it wasn't until later I found out that that it was a hoax, that there were no planes. It was all CGI. All the people on the ground are actors. If you know anything about the news, you'll if you've been critical of the news and you've researched this topic, you probably know by now that pretty much everything you see on the news is a story as well. All these long events that get talked about for days and weeks and months, they're all just events that are used. Just like I said earlier with the brainwashing thing, right? It's just drilled into your head until it's been accepted. And with 9/11, I always had a problem with it. I didn't really know exactly, who did it, or was it just George Bush and his cronies, or was it the whole government, or, what is it? But now I kind of understand that it's a little more of a Masonic spellcraft and theater up on the world stage. A lot like the theater of war idea. It's all drama, just like the politics. It's all drama. It's just TV show. It's another form of entertainment. You could look at the word news, N-E-W-S. That could be north, east, west, south. And what is north, east, west, south? Those are directions. So, I look at news as directions for what you're supposed to think, what you're supposed to believe, how you're supposed to feel. And it goes into music, it goes into movies, it goes into quote unquote news. They're giving you all these ideas, and they either get you in the morning, or they get you on the radio on the car ride to work, or you hear it during your favorite radio station during the commercials. They'll tell you some news tidbits. Get you at the newspaper, or they'll get you at dinner time. They'll get you in the evening. Or in present day, there's all types of apps and things of that nature to spoon feed you their ideas as well. So even if you take a look at the weather, whenever they show you the weather, they show you a globe spinning around, and it's basically just keeping that imagery and keeping those ideas in your head constantly, right? If you ever get a song stuck in your head, you heard, I don't know, La Bamba, or whatever that song's called, La La Bamba, or whatever. You heard that in the car, and then you go into work and you got that song stuck in your head the whole day. It's kind of like the same thing. You're taking these news points and this information in, and these images and these videos, and you keep being exposed to them over and over, and it's like an earworm, it just gets stuck in your head. You know, I think most of us only have so many thoughts going around in our head at one time, and I think part of the goal here is just to keep you fixated on their ideas at all times, or at least have them in your mind for most of the day, if not all day, every day. And then that brings us to, let's see here, how did I get into the flat earth? Again, I was big into space, and I was also looking into all types of other conspiracies. I was looking up the reptilian shapeshifter idea. And yeah, I basically saw some videos showing up in the recommended views on YouTube. And at first, I didn't have any interest. I saw the word flat earth. I thought that was ridiculous. In fact, I wasn't even aware that there was a modern flat earth movement. I thought all that was back hundreds of years ago or thousands of years ago. And it wasn't until one day I decided that, you know, the only way to get to the bottom of something is to examine it from all angles, all opinions, and all the available knowledge. So I decided if I was to put that idea to bed, I was going to have to watch some videos on it. And I have to tell you that it struck a chord with me immediately. And I watched a video called How a Sun Works on Flat Earth, I think it was called. Or maybe How the Sun Sets. No, How the Sun Works on a Flat Earth. It brought up all types of things that used to bother me, or all types of thoughts that used to bother me back in the day. I used to wonder why sometimes in the summertime the sky would still be lit up from the sun, you know, past 10 p.m. And if you were up all night, you could see the sun reappearing, or maybe not the sun reappearing, but you see the sky beginning to light up again, sometimes before 4 a.m. or just after 3 a.m. sometimes. And where I'm located in the northern part of North America, on the West Coast, perhaps it's where I'm living that allowed me to experience that, but I always thought that was very odd. That it wasn't, you know, it's bright and hot and warm all day, and then the sun disappears for what, 4 hours, and then starts showing up again. That really, you know, that and not believing in the moon. What else was there? The Felix Baumgartner Red Bull drop from space. I had also made a mental note that there was a flat horizon when you had that camera angle where you could see outside of the pod that this guy was in. You could see that the horizon was flat, and then as soon as he jumped out of the thing, you could see that there was the horizon was all distorted. It was going concave and convex and flipping around, the typical fisheye lens effect that you get. And again, at that time I believed in space, so I didn't think too much of it, but I did make a mental note which resurfaced when this flat earth idea showed up in my as something that I was interested in. And I think these things helped me to give it a chance, as opposed to wanting to write it off right away, or call it stupid and you know, start name calling everybody, you know, the typical shill troll type behavior. And that's basically what's got me here. You know, I tried to speak to my friends about it, and I lost some friends. I was ousted from certain social circles. And I basically have nobody to talk to about any of these topics in my personal life. So that's why I made the channel, just to have an outlet for that and maybe have some conversations with some people. And so far it's been all right, except for all the name calling and just all that stuff that comes along with it. But I'm going to cut this off now because I tend to get going for too long. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. Thanks. I hope everyone's well, and take care. We'll talk soon.